Good evening. We're a little bit behind. We were trying to get some technical issues up and running here. It's actually 6:32 on Monday, February the 25th, and the Winton City School Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Please turn your cell phones to silent and then rise with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, not yet. Wait a minute. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Capoletti? Here. Mrs. Kuhn?
Present.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Present.
Mr. Birdie?
Present.
Dr. Johnson?
Present. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda this evening is our district's honors, recognitions, gifts, and introductions. The board has changed its protocol to allow board members an opportunity to present the awards so that each board member will have an opportunity to present awards to our recipients. Our first member is going to be Mrs. Paula Kuhn, so if you would take your place at the podium, and Mr. Smith, Superintendent, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President and Board. Is Barack here tonight? Is there a member from the Kiwanis group? Okay. So Bharat is a student at the middle school, and he has demonstrated trustworthiness in a multitude of measures during this time at Winton Woods. Regarding academics, Bharat is a warrior scholar engaged in honors courses. His teachers trust him to be prepared for class, preserve them through difficult projects and learning activities, and he rises to the occasion on a daily basis. He embodies trustworthiness in his behaviors, having never received an office referral in almost 2 complete years of middle school. Raise your hand, folks, if you've been able to do that. Okay. Regarding athletics, his coach entrusted him with the responsibility of captaining the squad of the Winton Woods Middle School soccer team, in which he did so with grace and composure beyond his young age. Bharat is an example of trust, respect, and responsibility in and out of the classroom, on and off the pitch. This is why we have nominated Bharat for the Kiwanis Character as Key Award for Trustworthiness. And this is written by Adib Dixon, the assistant principal of Winton Woods Middle School. Bharat, congratulations for being the recipient of Kiwanis Character's Key Award for Trustworthiness. Picture.
Okay.
Family.
Family.
Okay, so Bharat, who did you bring with you tonight?
My mom.
Mom, come on up, please. You want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you.
Everybody can hear you.
I want to say thank you because this means a lot to me and it's only gonna make me do better in school. So I just want to say thank you.
Bravo. Excellent. The next character, Kiwanis Characters Key Award, citizenship, is Sagat. All right, we'll come back. The next one is the recommendation for Frank Jadou. Hey, I'm working. Folks, this is an international meeting. Excuse me. So that I don't ruin your name, pronounce your name for me. Frank, okay, I try to give it something special. Frank is a 10th grade student here at the high school, but to speak to him and observe his actions, you would think he is already a college student. Wow, that's wonderful. Frank's maturity and good nature is apparent to everyone he meets. Teachers have commented on how nice it is to have such a positive influence in their classes. I challenge you to find a harder working young person. During his time at Winton Woods, Frank has distinguished himself as a top scholar. He has never earned a grade less than an A.
Oh, my.
And Frank takes a very demanding all-honors schedule. That's amazing. Frank is not just impressive in the classroom. While earning perfect grades, he is also a two-sport athlete and works part-time in his mother's daycare. Frank is from Cameroon and speaks 2 languages. He's been very valuable assisting us with French-speaking students who do not know much English. Currently, Frank's mother is in Cameroon for an extended stay, leaving Frank at home to care for his 2 younger siblings while his father works 2 jobs. As you can see, Frank is impressive on a variety of levels. His goal is to one day attend medical school, and he is well on his way. I cannot think of a more deserving recipient for the Student of the Month. Brad Tash. Amazing. Frank, do us the pleasure of just giving us a few words in French, please. We'll understand it.
Merci beaucoup.
Excellent. Incredible. Congratulations, sir. Our next recipient is the February Skyline Student Athlete of the Month, Ayanna Thompson, who is a senior.
Yes.
Ayanna has a second quarter GPA of a 3.71. Mike Walker, girls basketball volleyball coach, says the following about Ayanna. She's the type of young lady that exemplifies excellence, perseverance, and the ability to overcome adversity. Despite enduring 3 ACL tears during her high school career, Ayanna keeps smiling, stays focused, and continues to be positive. She is the true definition of a warrior. I say absolutely for that one. To be nominated for the Skyline Student Athlete of the Month, students must maintain an academic standard of 3.0 or above in the previous quarter, show respect for coaches, teammates, officials, teachers, other students, and family, show enthusiasm and a positive attitude, display commitment to practice games and personal skill development, demonstrate honesty in playing by the rules, have high moral character. The Student Athlete of the Month award is sponsored by the Forest Park Skyline Chili Restaurant, a business partner of Winton City Schools. Student athletes who are honored receive a Skyline gift card. So who did you come with tonight?
I got my mom and my siblings.
Siblings, come on up.
Here, let me see if I can fit it. Oh, you're kidding.
Well, thank you for this award. I'm very happy to receive this for my senior year. Actually, right now, I'm working on my 4th surgery. So, yeah, I'm recovering right now, just got off my crutches today. But it's really nice to have the Student Athlete of the Month. I'm really happy to have this, so thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay.
So great students, of course, they have to have great teachers. Of course, my last name is Smith, but I always wanted to have this last name. So this next recipient, the February Skyline Teacher of the Month, is Ciro Casanova. This year, Winton Woods High School was fortunate to be able to hire an art teacher that had served as a long-term sub in the building during the previous year. Mr. Casanova teaches an introductory level art class as well as 2 levels in digital photography at the high school. He is also the advisor for the art club. The Winton Woods High School administrative team stated, "We get great feedback from Mr. Casanova's students about the art projects that they are excited about in his class. He has a knack for matching his projects with the interests of his students. Mr. Casanova is also a great help in other areas of the school as he uses his artistic skills to assist in tasks to help the students as a whole. Mr. Casanova's willingness to jump in and help where he sees the need has been noted and welcomed throughout the years," shared the Winton Woods High School administrators. For this reason, Cyril Casanova is Winton Woods High School Teacher of the Month for February. So in order to be nominated, there are 6 attributes that a teacher must have. Excellence in the classroom by using instructional practices, motivation by encouraging and motivating students to surpass their expectations both academically and socially, leadership by having a positive attitude with students, parents, colleagues, and the community, creativity and imagination by demonstrating creativity and teaching in a way that inspires students to learn, dedication by showing excellent attendance, punctuality, and overall dependability, and finally, communication by communicating effectively to their classroom parents, colleagues, and beyond. The Skyline Teacher of the Month Award is sponsored by the Forest Park Skyline Chili and Restaurant, a business partner of Winton Woods City Schools. Thank you.
So I was watching the Emmys, and since I don't see an orchestra, you guys are going to be here for a while. First of all, I'd like to thank the board, especially the superintendent, Mr. Smith, administrators, and fellow teachers who are here today, and of course the community of Winton Woods. I got to be honest with you, this is an honor for me, mainly because I want to say that at first I didn't see myself becoming a teacher, but I am reminded of a special quote, which I'm going to cite. "Fate rarely calls upon us at a moment of our choosing." Optimus Prime, Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, 2017. And the reason why is because as my 10-year career as a graphic designer was coming to an end, I did not know what to do. And my wonderful wife decided, hey, you know what? I know you're already tempted to be a teacher in other places, not just in Cincinnati, but let's try it again. And oddly enough, everything fell into place once I decided to stop being a graphic designer. Within a month, I became Winton Woods long-term sub, and I never looked back. I enjoyed the students' work. They inspired me to be a better artist as well, and I hope that in the future I will be able to inspire them to continue on to their own special goals, whether it be in art, photography, or coming soon in 2019, virtual reality as well. So thank you so much, members of the board and everybody. Thank you once again.
Fantastic.
I also would like to thank my wonderful wife, who is here, my son, Connor, who inspires me every day, my autistic daughter, Maria, who, without her, I would not know how to be able to comprehend teaching as being as patient as a teacher, because sometimes it's difficult. So some of that stuff that I do at school also comes from being able to teach my daughter art as well.
Valuable.
So I hope one day she becomes an artist just like her father.
Awesome. The next recipient is the Outstanding Recycling Educator. Didn't know we had that award, did you? Okay, Ms. Sharon Green. Congratulations to Ms. Green, who was selected for this honor by the Hamilton County Recycling and Solid Waste District. Every year, the Recycling and Solid Waste District honors individual schools, businesses, and nonprofit organizations for their efforts to reduce waste and increase recycling through Hamilton County. Ms. Green is one of 15 honorees selected for the organization's annual award. Outstanding Recycling Educator, Ms. Sharon Green.
Thank you very much. I didn't think I was going to be this excited about this, but I am. It's very nice to receive. It's very nice. I've been in the district for 22 years, and I've been working as a recycler since about 2004 or so. And then I got my big start with Mr. Denny over there. I'll always got to think about him with Chris Cornelson. And he just took me out of nowhere. I don't even know why he selected me. I don't know why, but he did. And I just kept going from that time on. And I have recycling clubs. We've aluminum cans recycling. We do paper recycling. We've earned money for the district, over $1,500 or whatever. We've done money for charities when it comes to, I'm trying to think of the charity with the St. Jude. We've had other things. We get ready to do another recycling drive. The children love it. This is something that gives them a purpose. And I am so glad that I have the opportunity to be able to give them a purpose, because in this world, we're always downing the children, the new generation that comes along. But I tell you, these kids are awesome. And now a lot of them are graduating from high school, and they still remember me, and they still do the things. And I'm just thankful very, very much for the opportunity Mr. Jones gives me over to Primary North, Mr. Day before, and again, Mr. Denny as my beginning. Thank you very much. And my husband has always supported me, Larry Green. He is just so awesome because he's always there for me. Thank you so much.
Let's get that awesome husband to get in that picture.
Awesome. Thank you.
So there's another special recognition, and this goes to our very own Mr. Josh Amstad. Mr. Amstad, can you come up? So I'm going to have you come up to the podium, and I'd like for you to talk a little bit about Fast Pitch 2019.
Sure. First off, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. This is my daughter, Ayla. The other one, unfortunately, has a bedtime of 7, so she's at home with my wife. So I had the privilege of being selected for something called the 2019 Fast Pitch Competition. Many don't know that the Academy of Global Studies that I teach in at the high school is partnered with the World Affairs Council in Cincinnati. They reached out to me in December and said, hey, listen, we value our partnership with you so much that we are in this competition for nonprofits where we can have $30,000 of programming money. So we would like you to be the spokesperson for the World Affairs Council because we feel like we've made the most impact in your district. So given that honor, I reached out to central office, make sure that was like a kosher thing to do. Was able to compete in the semifinal round, which we made it to in January. We were not selected to be the finalists, unfortunately, but what we had to create was a 3-minute pitch, which represented the World Affairs Council, what they did for the Academy of Global Studies, and how the Academy of Global Studies and Winton Woods City Schools in general have been impacted by their work. So through that, I was able to learn a lot more about the World Affairs Council, was able to really showcase our district, really showcase the population, given that we have 30 languages and 30 countries represented, which is a fun stat I found out from central office when I was preparing for my pitch, to be able to really make a great name that's continuing to be made for Winton Woods City Schools. So 100% honored to have that experience to represent us well, and just one of the vast amount of opportunities I've been granted because of this district and everything that's been given to me with respect to the board, the teachers, the administration, everybody. So just blessed to be where I am. So thank you all so much.
Josh. Way to go. The next recipient is the Community Spirit Award. Is Miss Debbie Bradley here tonight?
I'm here for it.
Okay. So, come on up. Before I present this award, I'd like for Mrs. Jordan and Mrs. Denny to come up, please. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about your experience of how we landed on New Soul and how they're going to be our partner for the next 150 years.
Good evening, Mr. Smith and board. Thank you so much. So New Soul Glassworks is a fantastic partner for the district, and part of the reason there's many collaborative efforts we have together, but one of the things that we collaborate with them on is to really bring our projects to the next level, which Mr. Olmsted knows very well, because we have 2 classes at the high school that go over, and I think it's every other week. Is that right? They go over and take do projects there at New Soul Glassworks. And one of the classrooms is PCAP, which is physics aligned pre-calculus, and the other one is geometry aligned art.
Very good.
And one of the things that our superintendent is very deliberate about before we launch into a partnership with other organizations is he wants to meet with that organization. And so I had the privilege with Mrs. Denny and Mr. Smith of going to New Soul Glassworks to see exactly what our students would be experiencing should we partner with this organization. So it really was a treat that I got to learn about glass blowing and the process and actually participate in the process firsthand. So yeah, we're really happy with New Soul Glassworks and so glad that they're in our community. So thank you.
One additional thing, they are also donating part of our awards for the Night of Freedom, which is on March 7th. So they're doing all of the awards, which is, I think, 38 awards, if I'm not mistaken.
He said yes.
He's like, yeah, you say so.
I think that number is much higher on the awards. I think it's closer to 70, if I'm not mistaken. And usually, yeah, it's nice to be on the other end of this. We're usually on the production side of awards. Don't really know what to talk about. And if you guys aren't familiar with New Soul Glassworks, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 focused on art education and community education with an emphasis in glass art. The programs that we do that we're working with right now with Winton Woods is awesome to get these kids in there. Teach them something that they would probably never be exposed to if it wasn't for this community and the just the association with nonprofits in the community is pretty cool. And I guess that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, we found out that the Ohio State University actually has a scholarship. You can major in this particular endeavor, glass blowing. So we thought, hey, we'll give it a shot and see how we partner with New Soul, and they have been an incredible partner. So thank you very much for your generosity.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right. Mrs. Denny and Miss Jordan, can you come back for the photo, please?
Nice try.
Thank you. Madam President and Board, that's the end.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Kuhn and Superintendent Smith, and congratulations to all our students and teachers and administrators, and as well as our wonderful community partners that do what you do for our district. We're now going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll resume back in 5 minutes. We'll resume our regular board meeting, and the next item on the agenda is public comments. And we have 6 individuals for public comments. You will receive 3 minutes to state your comments. We'll have 2 timers going to make sure that you have your 3 minutes. For lack of a better way to do this, because they got all mixed up, I just put them in alphabetical order. So the first person that is up is Thomas Derenkamp. And we'll start timing from the first word you say.
All right, how are you guys doing?
Good.
I was talking to you guys about the possibility of merit directors building a new school. I heard they might be bidding on jobs in the area. I worked for them at West Claremont, and I was there during the collapse. It was real hush-hush. Everything was swept under the rug. I was told not to talk to OSHA about anything that happened there. Told them to tell them I didn't know anything about it. I didn't feel safe working for them. I wouldn't feel safe walking into a building that they erected. I wouldn't feel safe having my kids walk into a school that they had built. So please consider that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next item, the next person on the docket to speak is Brennan Grayson.
Oh, good evening, Superintendent and Board President and other trustees. My name is Brennan Grayson. I'm with the Cincinnati Interfaith Worker Center, El Centro de Trabajadores. I live on Winton Road down in Cincinnati, but we have many members who live in this district. And our mandate, we're a nonprofit in the community, is to serve as a safe place where workers, regardless of where they come or what language they speak, have a safe space where they can report problems at work that they are concerned about, including safety issues, including whether they've been paid a living wage or a fair wage or a legal wage. And we have been working in the community for over a decade to help make sure that people feel comfortable coming forward to blow the whistle when there's a public need or there's a labor standard or a fairness standard that needs to be enforced. So I want to thank you all for making time for the public to speak today. We had a call in on the hotline on Friday regarding the possibility of merit erectors working at a project here. And we had done some other significant work blowing the whistle regarding safety violations and safety issues with the same contractor. So we want to just take the opportunity for public comment to come and bring this issue before the school board and let you know we do have some public reports here regarding OSHA violations and newspaper records. And we would just ask that you take time to listen to the workers who might not have as much experience public speaking, but certainly appreciate the time that you're taking to listen to them. And hopefully you'll feel compelled to act, to investigate, to take some responsibility to make sure that what's being done here is being done in the right way. And I do have a set of paper copies that I'll leave for the board members and superintendent who may be interested. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next person to speak is Adam Kenmin.
Hello, my name's Adam Kenmin. I worked for merit directors for a number of years, and they're are just a very unscrupulous contractor that misuses and abuses workers. And when I worked there, it was hard to go home and be happy and feel safe that doing the work that we do, knowing that they don't have the safety equipment there, they don't care if you tie it off, if your harness is good, if your lanyard's okay. Then I was working there for during the Nippert Stadium when all that came out, and I was welding on that project. And I'm not a certified welder. I've never been trained to weld, but yet they'd have me go do welds and nobody come behind me or check it, and I thought it was a little second guessed myself because I didn't know what I was doing. He had a guy that was deceased. He was turning in his paperwork like he was going to be on the job site welding. He's just a really bad apple. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Sierra May.
Hello, it's pronounced Sarah. Sorry
I'm
about
sorry.
that. The I
Sarah,
is silent.
okay.
As a resident of this community, I'm of 11803 Hamlet. I have a great concern, and my concern is the safety of my grandchildren that will be going to the new school that you're going to have built. I stand before you as a grandmother, and I've been in the construction trade for 29 years, okay? I stand up here to speak on behalf of mainly my grandchildren, okay? I want them to be in a safe environment. It concerns me that Merritt Avenue is building this building because they have so much negativity behind them. I've seen a lot of companies come and I've seen a lot of companies go. And I know that safety is number one. Safety is number one. Me being in the company that I'm in, safety is our number one priority. And Merritt does not take safety as a number one priority. I stand here, I stand on my word. I believe in what I'm saying because I've worked around Merritt. Okay, and I just want to know that when my kids come to this school, that they will be safe. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next is Sherman Robinson.
Good evening. My name is Sherman Robinson. I'm here to speak on the Merritt erectors. I was there after the collapse at the West Claremont High School in Claremont County, Ohio. My main concern is when I had an injury there, I went to another job after the collapse. I had an injury on the job site to where it infected my eye. I got metal in my eye. And when I went and addressed the foreman of the job site about it, he didn't even acknowledge it and told me to go back to work. And my eye is dripping with water and I can't hardly see. I left anyways. I had to drive myself to the ER to get the metal out of my eye. They didn't want to offer to pay any of the medical bills. It's just a bad deal. During my time there, I was running on the steel with no tie off. He would look up at me and then continue on. He wouldn't tell me to, hey, get tied off or whatever the case may be. But the safety thing is a big thing, and I'm trying to keep our kids safe. And so to keep them safe, I would advise that you would keep Merritt off the erection. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robinson. The last one that we have is John Young.
Hi, I'm John Young. I'm a former employee of Merritt Erectors. I'm going to touch on base on the West Claremont High School job. I was the one that was a part of the collapse at the job. I was in the lift when I had 5 bar joists and a full bundle of roof deck come down on top of me. And they tried to get me to lie to OSHA, saying that they were welded in and there was the bridging stuff in them and everything, and that wasn't the case. That there was no welds on the bar joists, nothing. And I mean, I very well should not be standing here today. I should have died. And my biggest concern with them is they don't properly train you to do anything. I was hired right off the street, didn't know anything about the work. And I wouldn't want my kids, because I'm a father, I have 6 children of my own. I wouldn't want my kids going to a school that they build knowing that there's not qualified people working for them, and you never know what you're going to get. I mean, the building could fall down, and I wouldn't want my children going there. And that's the case. They actually have the contract for the jobs of the school district my children go to, and I'm going to do the same thing there. I'm going to go and tell them how I feel. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your coming out and sharing with us your concerns, and we will take this into consideration. We take safety a serious issue. We want our children to be safe, and so we are concerned, and we would do our due diligence to make sure that things get looked into. So we appreciate you all coming out tonight and sharing your thoughts and sharing your concerns. We You got kind of in right under the wire. We have a policy that's coming up that says that only residents of the district can speak. So, you got in and we wanted to hear what you had to say. And the one grandmother, we appreciate your comments, having worked in the construction area. So, thank you very much. And I'm going to pass these down to Mr. Seymour. And the next item on the agenda is 5.01, the Winton Woods Teacher Association representative. Do we have anyone from the Winton Woods Teachers Association here this evening? I don't think we do. Okay, moving on. The next one is 5.02, the Ohio Association of Public School Employees, OPSE. And we do have a representative, and she brought us candy, so please take the floor.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Smith. On behalf of OC and being the president, OC just want to say good evening, and we're just here to represent our members and let everyone know that we don't just represent our members, that we are the support team of Winton Woods City School District, and we're here to support our students, staff, and administration. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ferguson Gordon. We appreciate you coming out and speaking on behalf of OC. The next item on the agenda is 6.01, the approval of the minutes as presented. Board, unless you see any necessary changes to the minutes, a motion would be in order.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
My brain is moving slow. Okay, it has been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti? Aye. Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggless?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie? Aye. Dr. Johnson?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is our treasurer's report for the financial statements for January 2019. Mr. Seymour, you have the floor.
Sure. For the through the month of January, the district had $33.4 million in revenues in our general fund. And for the months to date, revenues were $8.8 million, which were real estate tax advances. As you know, the tax bills went out and they're due, and the settlements will come in February or early March. Our general fund expenditures for the year to date were $29.8 million, and if you look at the financial reports, you may or may not have noticed that benefits were approximately $500,000 more for January than the other months, and that's because in the month of January, the Board of Education makes their contribution to the health savings account. Our employees have a $5,000 health care deductible where they pay the first $5,000 of any claim, and as a agreement, the board contributes $2,250 for a family plan and $950 for a single plan towards that deductible. Currently, your year-to-date expenditures are running approximately 5% under budget. So that is about where you were this time last year. All funds, unencumbered funds are $19.2 million for the general fund, and $9.7 million in your building fund, and $55 million in your classroom facilities, for total unencumbered funds right now of $86 million. I don't know if you have any other questions, but that's kind of a summary.
Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Seymour on the financial statements for the month of January? Okay, seeing none, we'll submit that to audit for January 2019. The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's recommendation, the investments for January 2019. Mr. Seymour?
Yes, our investment portfolio was around $84 million during the month of January. We earned approximately $152,000, $46,000 on the general fund, and $105,000 on our building funds.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Board, a motion is in order.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the investment report as presented.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Is there any questions or discussion for Mr. Seymour? All right, seeing none. Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Sure. Dr. Cupoletti? Aye. Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 8.02, the transfer of funds from classroom facilities, the local share to the building fund, locally funded initiatives. Mr. Seymour?
As you recall, back when the storm shelter was part of your building project, you had to co-fund part of it, and we had to transfer funds from your local funded initiative funds to your state matching dollars. That has been removed as you approved at the last meeting, and now we're going to transfer those funds back out of the state funds back to your local funded initiative. That gives, I think I'm saying this right, that gives you more flexibility in the spending of those dollars. They are no longer required now to be matching funds.
Okay.
And the amount of that transfer, I'm sorry, is $346,286 back to your local funds.
Thank you, Mr. Seymour. Board, a motion will be in order.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the transfer of funds.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for Mr. Seymour regarding the amount of the transfer or why it's being transferred?
I do have one question. Is this for both facilities, the monies that were sent aside? Or do we
Right,
have-
it's the total for both facilities. Only the local matching funds. I believe the total was close to 1.9 million, but these are the funds that you get to transfer back to your.
Anyone else? Okay, since there's no more discussion, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
And Dr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 9.01, reports of the superintendent. For the school reports, Superintendent Smith, you have the floor.
Madam President and Board, I'd like to comment on 9 interesting things that are going to be taking place in the month of March. On March 6th, the high school, there is a senior credit check. And for parents of seniors, please try to make sure that you attend that meeting so you can know exactly where your senior stands, because graduation is a very, very important event. March 6th as well is a spring sports parent meeting. March 7th is our showcase, and we're very, very excited. A Night of Freedom student project exhibition at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center. March 8th, No School for Students is a professional development day. March 10th, get your students home and in bed quickly because March 10th is daylight savings time. March 12th is the high school choir tune-up concert. And of course, March 12th to the 18th is the Measure of Academic Progress, better known as MAP, spring MAP testing. March 13th, third quarter ends. And finally, March 14th, the fourth quarter begins. Those are the updates.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. The next item on the agenda is 9.02, the facilities building guaranteed maximum price, the GMP update. Mr. Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Denny will be presenting the GMT Board Presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good evening, Board. Good evening, everyone. It's my distinct pleasure to give an overview of the largest construction project to happen in our community since probably the last time schools were built in the late 70s. We're very excited. This process started in 2003. If you rewind the clock with the initial assessments with the then OFSC, the Ohio Facility School Commission, and now it's, of course, the OFCC, Ohio Facility Construction Commission. And Board, we're not going to ask, the district's not going to ask you to approve anything this evening. This is an informational presentation so that you have a nice framework for what will be coming. Because the time is coming when the district administrative team and the leadership will be asking you to review consider, and then we would respectfully request your approval on March 11th. So that's the date where we would be bringing GMP documents, guaranteed maximum price documents, before the board. But this evening is really just an opportunity to have some conversation, to go over some framework and some context for what is a very, very large project. So I'm going to introduce a team of people that are here this evening. They are a team that supports our district in a very high fashion, and we'll be calling them up shortly to assist in sharing their expertise with you, the board, as well as our community and our team. But if you just wave. Allison Beer McKenzie with SHP, our architectural and design firm, is here this evening. Evans Nwankwo with Megan Construction is here. Chris Soto with Skanska Construction, and Jeff Williams with Megan Construction is here. So we'll be calling them up shortly to just, again, share some of their insight knowledge with you. If questions come up, again, this is a conversation, so if questions arise as we're going through any of this, please feel free to ask. But there's also a portion at the end where you can ask questions as well. We want you to feel informed. We want our public to feel informed. It's a very, very transparent process. Everything we're doing is public record. It's all open to Ohio Sunshine Laws, so it's our intent to make sure that if people have questions, they can get answers. That's our job. That we work for them, so just like we work for you. So this is the process in sort of 5 parts. If you look at it from the macro level, a construction project, especially in the context of a school in Ohio, it starts with visioning. And again, the process may have started in 2003 for this district with the initial assessment, so it's been 16 years in the making. But it started in earnest in 2012 with visioning. And we started this campaign to understand what our students want. And so student voice was a huge piece of that. And you've seen that as we've gone along. Once you create a vision, which the state, I think in their wisdom, actually does help school districts fund. If you're part of an OFCC program, they will co-fund at your local share the visioning. So you don't want to build a building and then open it and then you don't know how to operate it because it's not consistent with what the vision you had for education was. So that makes a lot of sense. But once you complete your vision, you move into design. So when our bond passed in 2016, we commenced with design. The design process has very much wrapped up except for furniture and a few other isolated items. So furniture is still coming, but we're proud to report that the design process is complete, which leads us to now, where we're at guaranteed maximum price. So the district has selected of 4 models the state of Ohio permits or authorizes. The district has selected CMR, which is construction manager at risk. There are pros and cons to all methods. We felt this one was the best one to benefit the district financially. And in terms of the scope that we were hoping to achieve, and thus the selection of the design firm and the construction management firms that we've assembled. So we have a great team. We're going to talk about this process now. Looking forward, you can see that construction is the next phase. That's what the GMP will authorize, is full construction. Now, certainly we're already doing some construction because the board has authorized early site work, so you can see the machines, of course, out there. Sanitary lines going in, water lines going in, utilities, all the kind of groundwork to lay the necessary infrastructure for foundation. And of course, you've also authorized a rammed aggregate pier, GMP, again, to keep things moving. So March 11th, again, will be the next date where we'll come back to you and say, all right, this is the actual documentation, and that'll be provided to you in advance. Finally, we'll move on to the last phase, which is the move-in process. And we're hoping to move in, and we'll have some discussion about the schedule. We're hoping to move in after spring break for the 712 building to give that graduating senior class an experience that they wouldn't otherwise have. And also August for the K-6 school. So we'll touch on that more in detail later. So we talked about vision and overview. Just in terms of overview, this is kind of like the back of a baseball card, for those of you that can relate to that. What you're looking at there is kind of the basic stats of the buildings. They are very large buildings, and that's done on purpose. Our community said, be lean and mean, operate in such a way to minimize exposure to future taxes. And so in an effort to honor that request and do our due diligence, the buildings are large. We're going from 6 schools where we serve children now to 2, because we couldn't go to 1. We didn't have enough property. We weren't sure that was the best idea at any rate as well. But what I want this slide to hopefully show is you see the square footage. The K-6 is about 40,000 square feet smaller than the 712. They both have the same capacity because they both have similar layouts in terms of how space is utilized. You can see the OFCC projected enrollment. Our enrollment is trending close to 2,000 for the K-6 now, and closer to 1,700 for the 7-12 building. So just things we're continuing to monitor. But what I want the public and the board to understand is there is room to grow into these buildings. These buildings have enough capacity to absorb growth. Total classroom spaces, including breakout spaces or small group rooms, some of which are for special needs education and ELL learners, English language learners. Gym capacity is a question that frequently arises. The 712 building does have a competition-style arena. Auditorium capacity is another question that we get frequently. You can see the auditorium capacities there. And the K-6 also has capacity in a gym that doubles as an auditorium. We'll see that later. Cost per square foot, very close to each other. Cost per building, and then you can see the planned opening timeframes. That's a baseball card stats overview of the buildings in a nutshell. So, Allison, would you like to come up? Or excuse me, it's actually Jeff. Yeah, get ahead of myself. Jeff Williams.
Sure.
And board, I'll pass out a PowerPoint, a copy of that. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for having me tonight. I'm Jeff Williams. I'm the project manager. I will be here on the 7 through 12 project. I'm actually sitting out in the trailer every day as we speak, so thrilled to be here and thrilled to be getting started with things. I can't read that from here, so I'm going to totally wing this. But anyway, just what we've been doing. A lot of good stuff's been going on. Unfortunately, it's not really exciting stuff. You know, everybody wants to see walls going up, but we got to get the base built first before we can get the walls going up. So we've been moving a lot of dirt. We've been hauling dirt from the K-6 job to the 7-12 site. We're almost done moving dirt between the sites. We started last week moving dirt from back behind the ball fields over to the 7 through 12 site. So we're hoping maybe another week and a half, something like that. We got that building pad made. I mean, that's one of our big milestones is to get that pad. So we're ready to start building on. So that's pretty exciting. If anybody's been watching the news, we've pretty much had record rains for the month of February. So it's been challenging doing site work this time of year. You know, it rains and we're tracking mud, and you can't put dirt on top of mud. So you guys have previously approved where we've been adding lime to the dirt. You'll see that in one of the pictures. The dirt's all white because we're mixing lime into the dirt to keep it dry so we can keep working, keep progress growing. So we're continuing with that. We've been putting underground sewer lines in. We've been putting underground storm lines in. We've been putting underground water lines in. So all those utilities underneath we've been working hard on. Upcoming work, I think we're going to continue moving dirt like we were talking about. The site utilities are going to continue. We're going to do a water line switch over tomorrow night. We're going to be working tomorrow night with the lights on after dark, switching some water lines over because we have to shut down water to the school. So we got that coordinated with Mr. Denny, and I got that all scheduled for tomorrow. And hopefully here in about 2 weeks, you'll see some of the geo piers going in. We'll have a big old rig come in at each site, and we'll start putting the piers in. As soon as those piers go in, we'll be ready to start footers for the job and the segmental retaining wall at K through 6. So I just did that really quick because I know we got a lot to cover. Questions on schedule, what we've been doing, or what we're moving forward to?
I'm just happy that the water line will be back on.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
We'll be working through the wee hours. I drew the short straw for the night shift tomorrow night.
I do have one question on
Yeah.
the electric service. Is that underground as well, or how?
The electric service will be underground from the street to there's a mechanical yard at each school that the transformer is located within that mechanical wall, screen wall, and that's where the transformer will be, and it'll be underground to that, yes. And we've actually been working with Duke. We've gotten approved plans with Duke on the routing of all that, easements and all that kind of stuff, so, yeah.
And one other thing, since it's underground and anticipating probably future growth potentially with different technology, the ability to modify that electrical is...
Yeah, they size those conduits accordingly for growth, and I think is there spares in, Chris? I'm pretty sure there's spare conduits in as well. Anything else regarding the schedule? I got a couple pictures I forgot here. That's just a picture of the K through 6 project, an aerial picture that we have. You can kind of see where the pieces, I'd come over there and point, but then I wouldn't be talking in the microphone. But where the equipment is there, that's kind of where the building pad sits. You can see the equipment there. When just around the other sides of the building, we've been running utilities around the building underground, so you can't really see much right there. And then the other side's the K through 7 through 12 site. You can, all the white, we were talking about the lime, they bring in these big trucks and they just spread it across the dirt. They got another machine that tills it into the dirt. They pack it in real good. The inspector comes out and says, yep, that's good dirt. And then we come and do another layer of it. And we just keep doing that over and over again until we get to our building pad. And now we're up to Chris.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. My name is Chris Soto, project manager with Skanska Megan. I'm working on the K6 project. I'll be talking about the financial side of the building GMP. So far, we recently had a facilitated meeting with the state of Ohio, as well as the school district and the architect. That was just about a week ago on the 15th. So what we did there was review the proposal, discuss the scope, discuss the pricing, and pretty much lock the deal, or set up the deal to then submit to the board for approval. From there, we talked about the GMP scope, we talked about the value. So we're on track to submit to the board for approval on March 11th. So what that does for the project means that we can start our foundations in early April. So as we continue to work on the building pad that Jeff mentioned, this will all fall right in line with the GMP approval. We can roll right into installing foundations. And before long, we'll start seeing walls come up. That'll be the exciting part. So as far as costs are concerned, I've got a couple bar charts here. So the blue side represents the budget, the green represents the cost. So we're in a good position that those bars are pretty much equal. So on the very far left side, those short little bars, they represent the demolition costs. We're not going to be talking about that at the next board meeting. We're not going to be approving that. That's further down the road. So those will be coming up in a few months. The next chart over, or the next set of bars over, that represents the K6, followed by the 712. So you can see kind of the cost delta between the two facilities. And then on the far right, this is the total project cost. So this represents your demolition, your K6, your 712. That represents construction, it represents design, it includes commissioning costs, as well as contingency. So overall, you're looking at approximately $107 for this project. On the K6 job site, so these are just construction costs. So we have a couple sets of charts, or a couple sets of bars here. First up is the early site that has already been approved. What's that?
You said $107.
Dollars?
Yeah, so we're like,
Sorry.
I'm in.
Yeah, you can sign, yeah, you can go to approval right now.
Chris, I want three. We're gonna kick in
Everybody
for
gets
more
one.
buildings.
More buildings? All right.
Everybody gets one.
All right. I just need to see the coupon first.
I digress.
All right, so we have the early site package on the left. The little bars you can barely see, that represents the GeoPiers that was approved a couple weeks ago. The third set of bars over, that's the building GMP. So that's what will be submitted to the board for approval on the 11th. What we see on the K6 is that we are slightly under budget, $27,000. It's not $27. So that's good news for everybody. And then on the far right is the total, all-inclusive of the early site, the GeoPiers, and the building package. Over on the 712 site, this is the same setup. So we have the early site, we have the GeoPiers, building package, and then the grand total. This project is right on budget. We made it work dollar for dollar, so our budget equals our cost. So any questions on the financials?
Well, I do have one question. On the demolition, the cost includes not only the demolition of the buildings that are going to be torn down, that are replaced, but also the demolition of other buildings once they're vacated. Is that correct?
I believe this budget includes the K6 and the 712.
We have a separate bucket of money outside of Skanska's contract. We'll actually be using a different construction delivery method for that. We'll bid those out when we're ready to.
Okay, I just was wanting to make sure.
All right. And with that, I'll turn it over to Allison.
Okay. I mostly get to show you guys movies, but I'll start with a little bit of data here. So, you probably know a little bit about what a GMP is based on the fact that you have already approved some early site GMPs and some GeoPure GMPs. This one's going to be a little bit different in that the documents that you receive are going to show that this guaranteed maximum price has been established based on 75% complete documents. So we do that so that we can get a price fixed in place while we finish up the drawings, the actual design, and move forward for you. In order to do that though, the construction team needs to make some assumptions and clarify some of their assumptions that they've made in order to kind of complete that 75% to 100% picture that they have for the project. So when you get the hundreds of pages of GMP documents in the next week or so here, you're going to see all of those assumptions and clarifications and what they mean to the project. Some of those meetings that Chris was talking about, we've gone through all of those assumptions and clarifications as a team, make sure we understand what everyone means, and that we understand what is in the number that's being presented to us. So most of my job tonight is to actually show you some videos that represent exactly what we have in the current budgets. Now, when you get those GMP documents, you're also going to see that there are a list of alternates for each project. Those are things that we would love to have and include in the buildings, but right now they're not in the budget. We don't know for sure that we have money to cover them. So that's really typical of school projects, especially now that the construction market has kind of picked up and costs are escalating a little bit. It's very typical to have a lot of alternates. So we wanted to be very clear tonight in what we presented to you, in that what you see in the videos that I'm going to show you are what we know we have in the budget. We've got some additional layers of some stuff that we'd love to have, some really colorful stuff that brightens up the building and adds design to it. But whether we get those aspects are going to be dependent on how much contingency we don't have to use during the project. Because you'll also see in the GMP documents that each project has two buckets of contingency. One is the CM's contingency, which is their bucket of money that they control during construction for things that come up, unexpected things in their subcontractor buyouts, anything that happens that they didn't expect when they put together the GMP. And then you have an owner contingency, which contains money that the owner will use to pay for unexpected things. A great example of that is the line modification that we're having to do on some of these sites. We were hoping not to have some of that, but sometimes you just can't foresee what's happening. Hopefully, we're going to have some of that owner's contingency and potentially some of the CM contingency left over and not needed for unexpected things. And the idea is that we can hopefully use that contingency in the future to buy some of those alternates, those things we really like to have, but aren't necessarily vital to the success of the building. We've also tried to target things that we know we can add later. So we've tried to get all the stuff that we have to do up front into the base budget, and then we've maybe deferred a few things to alternate status because we know that we can select to purchase those later without impacting the design of the building or the schedule. So that's a little bit of the logic that we've gone through as we've set up this GMP process, and hopefully we'll give you a little bit of insight as you start to review that complex GMP document that you'll receive soon. So I am going to go and play a couple of these videos, and I'm happy to answer any questions as we go. So we're going to start with the K6, And this is going to take you through the entire K-6 building. Again, showing you exactly what we have currently in our GMP pricing. And there's no fancy music or anything, so we're just going to kind of walk through it. This is the main entry, the main administration area, where your students will come. This is going to be your main secure entry to the building. And here we have the main kind of corridor for the building. We've got the blue and green branding for the district. We've got some fun accents with some lights that are maybe a little playful because we're dealing with younger students here. We've got display spaces where the gray that you saw on the left. We have some more kind of permanent display areas. You're going to walk into your enclosed gym here. So in the alternate list, you'll see some acoustic panels, some other treatments that we can add to these spaces. I know some of those are high priority for the district, but again, really easy to add later as we better assess how much money we may have left over. So you have the basic elements that you need for a gym here. Pretty nice space. Walk back out into the main corridor here. Sometimes we walk really slow, sometimes we walk a little faster. It just depends on what we're looking for. So popping back out onto that main corridor, you're about to see the open gym/auditorium space on the left. So right now we've got this set up like there might be a concert or an event in here. So you've got the stage with the curtain. Got some nice blue and green elements through the space. We'll get even more if we get to select some alternates for acoustic treatment. You're seeing outside into the courtyard of the space from this open gym and auditorium area. The courtyard is one thing that you'll see. Right now it's grass, it's nice. Maybe we'll be able to buy some additional stuff for that later. We're going to walk into one of the academic pods here shortly. We have distinguished each pod with a different identifier. So this one is the woods, and it has a unique color scheme from all of the others. This one is the green pod, as you'll see, with the strong green stair element. Furniture, as Steve mentioned, hasn't been totally firmed up yet. We get the best prices on furniture when we select it closer to the time when we're actually going to purchase it. So right now we're just carrying a furniture allowance in each building, and it's a generous allowance. It's actually a little bit higher than we typically carry for a school because we know how important collaborative and flexible furnishings are. That's your main collaborative area at the center of a pod, kind of walking through some of our typical classrooms that are connected by a door. So those are each two 25-person studios with that door connection. Back into the collaborative area, you can see the cord reels overhead for flexibility and charging. This is the project lab for this pod. So some of these are devoted to art or specific sciences. Some are meant to be more flexible maker spaces. But they occur throughout the building, kind of one per side of the pod. We're walking now into more of the distributed media space. With a variety of seating options, some technology built into the space, storage. Now we're into the collaborative area of the other side of the pod. So very similar. Each pod kind of has two mirrored halves. Got a nice little stair up to the second floor. Maybe an opportunity to have some math equations or some reading words. Similar layout just upstairs. Our central collaborative area with the seminar and studio spaces off of it. Here's our media space on the second floor. It overlooks the learning stair and has a nice view to the outside. Imagine green hills back there. We didn't really model all the trees very effectively, but very nice. And then we're gonna go back down the green stair, back towards the common area. This is really your distributed serving area. So remember, there's no central cafeteria, but the food gets brought to the pods. Now we've left that pod again, and we are once again walking towards that open gym. Kind of walking along the walkway that is at the stage height. You've kind of got the open gym that's recessed a little bit, about 1.5 feet. Continuing across, you can see the signage for one of the other pods right here. This one is the lake if you were to continue straight ahead. We're actually going to take a little bit of a turn and walk down a corridor that leads to the central reading area. Since it is a younger student school, we wanted to have a central area where there could be story time, maybe there could be presentations, project launches, all kinds of different uses for this little central media space with a little tech desk right across. So when kids have trouble with their Chromebooks, they know where to go. Nice little central media space, good little riser system for story time or presentations. If you do have a book collection that you'd like to have somewhere within the building, this would be a good place for it. Sliding marker boards with a flat screen TV for presentation behind it. So trying to make it as flexible as possible. So that's the K6 in a nutshell. Any questions on that one? Yeah.
Access for handicap to the second floor?
So we have one elevator in this building. It's actually pretty close to where we're currently standing with the media center. It will be on card access, so anyone that would need to access the elevator on a regular basis will be able to have a card that they can swipe to access the elevator. Anything else on this one?
If there's only one elevator, that means there's gonna be like a chair lift in case of a fire emergency, so that anybody in a wheelchair will be able to get down the stairs?
There's not a chairlift in this building. Typically, evacuation plans for schools will deal with that situation by having special teachers trained for carry exercises if they have students with ongoing disabilities. I know that is a situation that a lot of schools deal with. I'm sure that Mr. Denny already has that in place on some of the school buildings and will extend the policy.
Places of refuge also, that first responders will go to first.
You know, I noticed the water fountains throughout, and those, and I'm just gonna bring them up as far as, because anymore you go to places, water fountains don't work always. Is there precautions so that there's no impurities in the water, or everything is safe water drinking for the students?
So everything gets tested as far as the water supply into the building. There is a water softener in place if it is required. You have City of Cincinnati drinking water, which is deemed to be safe by, so any faucet in this building will deliver drinkable water.
I was just wondering, because after a while, it seems like water fountains lose their purpose, and then they just stay. So I just wanted to make sure the longevity of the.
Most of these water fountains do have bottle fillers as well, so I think they'll be popular on students, and we've had really good success actually with the bottle fillers having a pretty nice long life. Okay, we're gonna jump over to the 712. And 712 is a really massive building, so we've actually got a couple different clips so we can kind of take it in chunks. We are going to start with...
Sorry, I did have a question. I know we talked about it before. When we looked at the gym, I didn't see seating.
In the open gym?
Yeah, when we first went, but I know we talked about it.
You have an alternate that is a set of bleachers that would take up part of that back space in the open gym. So we showed a layout in your base condition, what we know we can afford, that's all seats on the floor. You do have an alternate that, if we have money available for it, will provide several rows of retractable bleachers along that back wall opposite the stage.
No, the first gym.
Same
Main gym.
thing there, you have an alternate there, and in that case, we opted to have an alternate for rollaway bleachers,
Okay.
because it provides the most flexibility for configuration of the space. But again, same alternate status for that. Okay. Let's go for the high school entry. Let's start there, as we're approaching the building. You'll see that the landscape is also toned down a little bit, just based on what we know we can purchase now. We're gonna go up towards the high school entrance, so that's the entrance on the right. We'll take a look at the middle school entrance, which is to the left, shortly in a different video clip.
Is this facing Winton Road, this right here?
No.
or-
It's not. This faces your stadium.
Oh, okay,
So this is opposite Kemper Road.
okay.
So I'm like viewing Kemper Road. If I didn't have a building there, I could see it. Okay, just like we saw in the K6, we have a secure entry vestibule. And we have an office that was to the right. It actually looks quite a bit like the K6. This is what we're calling the Main Street. So this is the main public space of the building. The auditorium and the middle school gym and then the arena are all to the left as we proceed down this Main Street corridor. We do have a little bit of a courtyard to bring in some light into some of the classroom spaces that you're seeing beyond on the other side of the courtyard. Up here on the right, coming up shortly, is your spirit shop. So that is where you can display merchandise. That was one of the things that the students all said the school must have, is a very visible and central spirit shop. It definitely showed us that there was a lot of pride in this district. We're going to walk up these stairs, which is going to take us to the arena entrance. So we heard that you wanted a grand entrance to your main gym or arena in this building. So we've created this way that we can kind of create a procession up to the second floor where we can enter the gym and the main bleachers. So we have a small set of bleachers across from us, which would be the visitor side, and we've got a much larger set of bleachers here on the side that we're currently on. Just walking down right now, taking a look at the floor. This is a college size floor, as is the smaller gym, because we knew that you wanted to hold tournaments and wanted some consistency. So up on the second floor, you're going to see that there is some space up there for a health classroom, for some wrestling or multi-purpose gym space. Nice little gallery for spectators to stand and watch the game. And we have really nice daylight coming into this space from kind of a clear story, translucent but not transparent panel product. So we're not going to be worried about sun glare on the court, but we'll get nice diffuse daylight onto the surface.
So we can't make sure that the visitors are shooting that way for the glare?
Well, I mean, it's probably a little bit tougher to shoot that way, but,
Yeah,
you
okay.
know,
All right, so we know what to do.
choose your hats.
All right.
So that translucent paneling or that also cuts down on heat as well?
It does, yes. So it's a great product for cutting down on direct sunlight, which also cuts down on the associated heat with it. Let's jump into another clip.
Allison, have you already figured out where the position of the speakers will be in the gym?
I'm sure someone has figured that out. Here is your auditorium with base bid. So your auditorium is just over 800 seats. It's meant to be similar in configuration to what you have currently. We do have a lot of alternates around the auditorium, so things that we are really hoping to get into the budget but aren't there yet. We've got some really great wood look reflector panels on the ceiling, some really great acoustical panels to help with the sound surrounding the auditorium. We've got some alternates that you'll see for an orchestra pit, so some ways to really dress up this auditorium. And you know, we're obviously hopeful that we'll get as many of those as possible.
They have dressing rooms behind the auditorium?
They do. There is a connected scene shop with some dressing areas, and then also kind of directly behind the stage is all of your music. So your band rooms, your choir rooms, all of that is back there. Okay, another look at that main street, so that's back where we are. Already seen that part, so we'll skip there. Now we're going to go into kind of the main high school academic area. So it's set up kind of in pods similar to the K-6, but a little more dramatic. We've got bigger students, we can do some bigger spaces. We really wanted to make sure we had kind of a main central area where all of the students could interact with each other. We have learning stairs at this building as well. These are great for casual eating. I can envision people taking their lunch and eating on that stair, as well as big presentations of, an entire class perhaps. Collaborative area is very similar to the K-6, with small group rooms on one side. That's what you're seeing right now.
Those are power cords?
Yeah, those are retractable power cords. So if we've got tables that move around, we've got to get power to people that need to charge their laptop or whatnot. This is a media center space behind the learning stair. Again, very, very similar to what we're doing at the K-6, but slightly different language for bigger students. We do have lockers in the 712, so you'll see those pop up. This is a tech desk, much like we saw at the K-6, so you know where to go to get your Chromebook support. You're going to walk up the learning stair. Here we're actually overlooking that media center below. Lots of transparency into classrooms, although still providing areas within each classroom where students could feel safe and hide if they had to. It's a delicate balance, but I think that we've arrived at a nice percentage here. Again, just like the K-6, furniture is not 100% set in stone. We're showing examples of what we think we're leaning towards, but we've got a lot of time to work that out yet. We've got some interesting display surfaces that include magnetic strips. That's what the gray strips are, so that we can do presentation, more permanent display, really share student artwork, or even gather around it to have a discussion. We know that the flags that you display in your 712 are important to illustrate all of the different nationalities that your campus represents. So we envision those prominently displayed in this area. The learning stair mirrors from one end to the other, so it's basically two communicating learning stairs. Now we're going to pop in over on the 712 or on the 7-8 side. Early in the design process, we heard loud and clear that you were fine with 7 through 12 being in the same building, but you wanted to keep them as separate as possible. So we have a separate entry that we're going to walk into to view the 7 and 8 space. So the high school entry is over here. We've got a smaller but still celebrated entry for the 7-8 students. Going to walk through their secure vestibule that again has an administration area attached to it. We've got art that actually has visibility directly onto that main entry, which I think is a great opportunity to display. Walking past a lot of the theatrical spaces, providing pinup areas, again, displaying that student work, completed work, in progress work, announcements, so many things that you could put up and display there. We're walking into one of the main academic pods on the 7-8 side. Again, you should recognize this language by now. It's very similar concepts. That was another thing that was loud and clear to us through visioning, is that while students may have different requirements and learn different things as they grow, their spaces should be reminiscent of each other and consistent. You'll see lots of blue and green throughout. That was very, very, very intentional on the part of the design team. My interior designers at one point had a lot of orange throughout. You'll see bits of orange here and there, but again, we heard very consistently blue and green, blue and green, blue and green. So you will see the school colors no matter what space you're in. Another tech desk. So 7th and 8th graders will probably need technology help as well. We have lockers just like we have on the high school side. And again, consistent collaboration areas meant to be flexible and used by large groups, by small groups, in as many ways as possible.
Are there science areas that have like sink areas and different?
Yeah, so this tour didn't show it, but on the high school side in particular, we have 2 intensive chemistry labs. They're actually upstairs on the 2nd floor and they share a prep area, so those have the full complement of water and gas and compressed air and all of that sort of thing, fume hoods. Throughout the rest of the space, they do have designated labs kind of sprinkled in those project lab areas. There are some that are more appropriate for general sciences, so they're specialized based on what they're going to be used for. Here's kind of their learning stair, again, similar open space where we can communicate between the 2 floors. Lots of visibility. We wanted to make sure that students felt connected to the larger part, but also felt that their spaces were kind of broken down into a manageable section. What questions do you have on the 7-12?
The only question that I really have is not necessarily on the design of things, but just really, like, I know that we had the conversation about the color. I noticed there's a lot of fresh green, which is good because it keeps it open, it keeps it light, it keeps it airy. But this is probably a question for us is what is our Winton Woods green and how can it be incorporated in there? I saw in the high school, it looked more like, I saw the fresh green, but I also saw some green that was more consistent with our coloring. And then I know this is just a rendition of what it could look like, but on large areas like the learning stairs, I would really hope that we have a blue or a green instead of an orange on something that says create. That is something that's just making sure that we have enough of what our Winton Woods green is, along with some of the fresh.
So I think that the strategy that we talked about and the direction that we moved in was to make sure we used the specific Winton Woods blue and green in the Main Street and athletic areas. And then other areas branch out a little bit more. Those primary Winton Woods blue and green are still present in the academic areas, but they become a little more open and you start to see additional shades. So that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because if you're talking about learning and keeping it open and airy, and now that I think about it, when we did do the first entrance, it was more consistent with those colors.
Yeah, that was definitely the intention.
And is there a reason as far as orange on steps being like color for safety or just aesthetics more than anything?
Having a little bit of variety in color, I think, is a good thing. We can definitely talk about where that variety happens. You're seeing pops of orange in chairs and cushions. We can certainly evaluate what color those letters become.
I seen there were some lockers. I didn't see very many lockers for a number of students that we're going to have in these buildings. So is there like a place where like every student would be able to be assigned a locker?
Yes, there is a locker for every student. They are distributed through the building. So that is going to be a case of who gets a locker where, where are your classes, that sort of thing. But yes, there are lockers.
I did see some, I just didn't see them consistently throughout, so I was just curious.
Yeah, we basically put lockers in every little nook and cranny that we can possibly put them in.
There's also thank you, Allison. There's a set of lockers for athletics as well, so that I think it's along that back hallway by the competition gym. We didn't see it in this video, but it's specifically intended for people to stash their lacrosse stuff, or somebody to throw their cleats
Or
for
for
track, or
basketball,
spikes
or
for track,
for-
cleats for soccer. Right. So, and honestly, we came, and Mr. Smith could tell you, we came this close to not having lockers in this building. We were kind of trying not to have them, because they're a big chunk of money for something many students were telling us they don't use. The one thing we could not figure out was
Right, until you
codes.
don't have them, and then they need them.
We couldn't figure out codes,
Right, that's right.
and how to let that
How
kid
to
have
keep
some
them
personal
secure.
space. And when you have this much collaboration, one of the things we learned in talking to kids and doing research and visiting other sites is you need to have retreat spaces too, or ways that there is, retreat is also a possibility. So
question
that's
I-
just balancing kind of psychological needs for kids and learning.
Sure, and I noticed the two entrances to the high school and the middle school, and they will be separated, but are each designated, they'll be easily identified, so if you're coming, you know, and you didn't normally go here, you would know which one was the middle school, which one was the high school?
We'll make sure of that, yes. Yeah, and again, you're not seeing that, and it's not showing everything yet, but we're gonna have to have signage on campus as well.
And Allison, I forgot on the middle, the K through 6, where's the CLC?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not point that out. It is right up front. Let me go back to the screenshot of that and I will point it out.
Second one.
It is right here. It is front and center.
Okay,
So
just
this
that
is-
arm is out.
In a way.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
There we go, right there.
Office is this way.
But you would still access it through the
Main door.
security area?
Yeah, so you go into the vestibule and then there's a secure entry to your left from the vestibule. You can kind of see it right there.
Yeah.
Okay?
So that provides kind of a common entry point, but separation between whatever entity ends up in that CLC. Of course, we're hoping for partners, right? And then, of course, the school operation. So it gives us some separation. Separate security, separate processes for that. We thought the best way to capture scope on something that is this big to be a video, I mean, hopefully that was helpful to you to understand sort of where we are right now. Before a building comes out of the ground, you have maximum risk. Once it starts to come out of the ground, the risk goes down, your expenditures go up, costs come down. As long as we can keep our expenditures in line with what we expect, it should provide release of contingency later. So when you hear Allison say things like, we hope, we hope, we hope, we really do hope. We're gonna be able to buy some of these items that we know the building would gain value from. And I wanna say, I can't stress this enough, we have tried, we fought tooth and nail to make sure we don't lose value adds in the academic pods. So what you're seeing in there, hopefully you can see, you didn't hear us saying that very much in the pods, right? Well, we hope it has this, or we hope it has that, because we tried really hard, even when it comes to storage for teachers. Whiteboards, marker space, a surface for kids and teachers to work and kind of show work and collaborate. We didn't skimp on that. We skimped in areas where you can't see stuff, like not skimped, but we made alternates. But there's certain things we know we've got to have no matter what. And our number one business is instruction. That's what we do. That's our core business. So we wanted to make sure that you'll see a lot of alternates in the learning areas. So I just wanted to make sure I added that part. I don't know if there's any other questions or comments at this time.
I appreciate the presentation. It was a very good presentation and kind of opened my eyes to, gives me a vision. I mean, you know, it's hard to kind of visualize, you know, conceptualize what you were saying. So it was really good. Yeah, from dirt, you know, and white stuff on the dirt, you know, so keep moving dirt around and didn't get a vision of it.
But looking on
I
flat
appreciate
paper
that.
is one thing, but having a 3D
3D
model
image,
changes
that
the
was
whole
great.
outcome.
That was great.
Absolutely. I felt myself walking through,
Yeah, you kind of felt like you're walking through sometimes slower than others.
between walls and doors.
We've started this with teachers as well, to let them experience the space. Looking at
Will it be possible for us to share this with the community, or is it too soon?
That is entirely up to you.
A little too soon.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to kind of make
Get it
sure
all
we have all the factors together
Okay.
before we do it.
Okay.
Because we know there'll be a lot of questions, because we're looking at it from a big person's concept that we would use a space, but parents are going to be looking at it, where's my kid going to be and how's that space going to make them a better learner?
Okay. I think eventually we'll want to share something like this with
We
them.
will.
You know, so, okay.
Well, thank you for your time, we really appreciate the opportunity, and we'll see you March 11th.
All right, it's time well spent. Thank you so much.
Again, Mr. Denny, March 11th is?
Review of actual
GMP documents.
and we'll be requesting your
Approval, vote.
Absolutely. That will be a vote. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for that presentation. I think it was
Very
very
good.
enriching for the board. Very good. All right, the next item on the agenda is 10.01, and, which is the superintendent's recommendation for personnel schedules. Board, a motion would be in order, and I do believe we're going to hold out one Schedule D, and we're going to vote on it separate. But if a motion could be made for everything except Schedule D.
Have to do the presentation first.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. Yes, you do. Thank you.
All right.
I always get carried away.
You're excited
Yeah,
about
you know,
these.
it's like I'm so excited. Sorry.
So for the recommendations to approve the personnel schedules as presented, and Dr. Johnson, I can hold on Schedule D so that consideration can be made if you like.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So the Schedule A is resignations. Schedule C is personnel employment support staff. I will skip Schedule D and come back to that one later. Schedule E is leaves. And finally, Schedule M is termination of classified employee.
Okay, a board of motion would be in order, keeping in mind we're going to hold on Schedule D. So a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve personnel schedules, E, C, A, and M.
I'll second.
Did you say A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
E, C, A, and M.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Let me get back to my brain. Okay, did I have a
Trying to throw
second?
people off,
Second.
Dr. Johnson.
Mr. Birdie.
Okay, all right, Jeff Birdie seconded. It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for discussion? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. And now we're going to go back, circle back to Schedule D.
Personnel
And,
employment certification and non-certification, including extra duties.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Schedule D as presented.
Second?
Okay, Schedule D has been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions or for discussion?
Sure, I just wanted to make public aware as far as one of the people that was considered for Schedule D, Jack Schramm is my nephew, so I just wanted to be complete disclosure to the community. My relationship, doesn't live with me or anything, but he still is my nephew, so.
Thank you, Mrs. Coon. Anything else? Okay, seeing nothing else, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
I'll abstain.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
And Dr. Johnson?
Aye. So the vote passes with a 4-1 passing vote for one abstention. All right. The next item on the agenda is 10.02, which is a proposal for overnight extended trip for the Winton Woods Intermediate School 5th grade Camp Campbellgard at Hamilton, Ohio, for May the 20th through the 22nd of this year, 2019. Board of motion is in order.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the, I get the right terminology here, sorry, to approve the proposed overnight extended student trip to Camp Campbellgard, Hamilton, Ohio, May 20th through the 22nd of 2019.
It's been motioned. Can I get a second?
Second?
Are there any questions for discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye, the vote passes unanimously. The next item, keep going. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is 10.03. Okay. A proposal for overnight extended trip for the Winton Woods High School varsity ensemble to Carnegie Hall, New York, in the city of New York, New York, on March the 12th through the 16th in the year 2020. Board of motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal for overnight extended student trip, Carnegie Hall, New York, New York, March 12th through 16, 2020, as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for discussion?
I just want to point out, I'm very excited that our students have opportunities to travel, to experience amazing opportunities to perform at Carnegie Hall. They've done it at a very early age. I guess they can try it again as they continue to grow older. I do appreciate our staff and our teachers who are extraordinarily wonderful and work really hard to provide these trips and programs and extracurricular opportunities for our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Are there any other observations that we would like to make for this one? I guess I have one. There is not an attachment which we are normally accustomed to getting. So I think I'd like to see that, you know. I mean, we have some time, you know, but I would like to see that. We're going to go ahead and move forward on that, but I would like to see the, you know, there's always that explanation and what the enrichment will be and what the kind of, it's always an attachment there, so I'd like to see that, so. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. All right, the next item on the agenda is the 10.04, which is the policy 5113, the open enrollment policy. Board, a motion is in order to approve the open enrollment policy as presented.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve policy PO 5113, open enrollment as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion regarding this open enrollment policy?
The only changes were really dates.
Yes.
Yes,
For
it
the new
was-
school year, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. The next item on the agenda is the revised board policies, which is the revised board policies. Mr. Smith, would you just give us a little bit more update on that, if it's possible? Do you have that? An overview of any of the policies that are, there's quite a few, so you can, you know, the broad stroke.
These are actually your second reads, Dr.
This is our
Johnson.
second reads, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
we're good?
yes.
All right. Okay, these are our second reads.
I know you guys have read them several times, so I just,
They were presented in the last, in our last session, so. All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Board of motion is in order to approve these board policies as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised board policies as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruggles. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Are there any questions for discussion? All right, seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. That motion passes unanimously, which moves us on to 11.01, which is the legislative report. And Mrs. Kuhn, do you have something you'd like to share with us tonight?
I will have more to share next month. I wasn't having an opportunity. There wasn't a whole lot of different things that had happened at the moment, so we'll give you another revision next month. Did you have any?
No, I didn't, so you're right. It was pretty cool. Okay, all right, thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Moving on to 11.02, the Great Oaks Career Technical Center report. Mr. Birdie?
Just passed out the spotlight on students. We had one Winton Woods student, Fatima Allegra Avalos, who is a early childhood education student from Winton Woods, who's currently at Scarlet Oaks. We also included in there is a sophomore visitation report, which shows how much students from each of the schools that utilizes Great Oaks went to do tours of the schools. And then there's just, I thought the last thing that they passed out at one of the school, at the last Great Oaks meeting was the Next Generation Pathways to Success. And a lot of it's common sense things, what they show about needs for preschool, kindergarten, 3rd grade, 6th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade, and then just highlight some of the barriers that the children face. And that is my report.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Brady. The next item on our agenda is 12.01. We're going to set the date for our board retreat. I have scheduled our board retreat to be Saturday, April the 6th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The first half of the retreat will be presented by Mr. Smith. The second half will be presented by Mr. Steve Horton from OSBA. It will be at the Board of Education office at 825 Waycross Road, Suite A. Are there any questions? We don't really need to vote on that.
Yes, you.
We do need to vote on that? Okay, I'm sorry. Board, a motion is in order.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to set our board retreat for Saturday, April 6, 2019, from 8 to 5 at the designated location you cited.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Is there any discussion? Anybody have any questions with regards to it? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call the vote?
Dr. Cupoletti? Aye. Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye, that vote passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is 13.01, comments from the Board of Education. Let's see, Mr. Seymour, do you have anything you'd want to share with us?
No, thank you.
Okay, all right. Mr. Smith, would you like to share anything else with us?
No.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith, Mr. Seymour. Mrs. Kuhn, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
I wanted to appreciate our guests going through the process of the building of our construction in our community. It's very important. I appreciate the transparency, the willingness to share all the steps that go into place. It's important that we had it televised for our community to see what's going on and to see the care and consideration. So I do appreciate that time and energy, and it's very helpful as we're learning too. So we appreciate, hopefully we'll be good students for this information. And thank you, Mr. Denny, too. I know there's a lot of hard work from all of our teams to do that. Wanted to thank we're here for the students and everything that we can do to give students opportunities from the building to activities to the equipment, the academics, the teachers, which we celebrate, and our students that we celebrate at the beginning of each meeting. Those are really, really important pieces that we want to showcase to our community about what goes on here. And it's the importance of learning and expanding our children's education and making them or preparing them to be the best community citizens and future shapers of the world that we can. With that, I'm done.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Dr. Cupoletti?
Yes, I attended the Family University on February 12th. It was my first such visit. I was very impressed with all of the colleges, military recruiters, businesses that came and talked to the students and made available opportunities. I had the opportunity to sit in on the K through 6th classroom where they explained the teaching method, and that was also a very interesting and important. So I'd like to congratulate everyone who put that on. It was really a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cupoletti. Mrs. Ruggles?
Thanks again to Skanska and Megan Construction for showing us the rendering of the buildings. And thank you for Waycross for videotaping that. So if there's anybody in the community that wants to get an idea of what we're looking at, please just keep in mind that this is a rendering. It's not a final product, but it is definitely a product of excellence. So I'm very proud to see that we've moved along in some of the design. I also want to say that we are continuing to build strong partnerships with the community, with Mercy and Meritas just reached out about having our choir sing again. They were very supportive and very excited about the opportunity that we had last year. So I'll be connecting with Mr. Smith to see if that opportunity still exists. And just continuing to build those partnerships that will continue to support our students and move us forward and giving our students additional opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ruggles. Mr. Birdie?
You might hear this one more time, but Night of Freedom, March 7th, please. If you haven't had the opportunity, you're new to the community or whatever, you need to get out there and see this showcase of our children and their talents and the things that they could do. It's a fantastic night for Winton Woods. I also want to thank New Soul for what they do for the program for the children, as well as the teachers that were recognized here, Ms. Green, Mr. Amstutz, Mr. Casanova. It's nice to hear and see those things going on, and thank you, Skanska Megan, for going through the renderings too. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Birdie. I was going to echo the same sentiments about the Night of Freedom and to Skanska and Megan. Also, Mr. Smith highlighted some of these in his report, but we do want to keep in mind one thing that was on our calendar is March the 4th is early kindergarten registration. If you want we have the Step Up to Quality rating. If you want your child to come to 5-star, that's right, 5-star rating. So we that starts, so you need to get that in if you're interested. Also, we have the art gallery that, the Winton Woods Middle School Art Gallery. I've gone to that a couple of times. It's really pretty fun, and to see the kids' art and see them in their creativity. Mr. Smith already mentioned about the spring map testing. The dates of March the 12th through the 18th. Make sure you get a lot of sleep. Make sure you eat a good breakfast, and make sure you come to school on that week. It makes a big difference to what we're trying to accomplish. So I think that's it. I did have the high school band showcase concert on there too.
I'd like to have Dr. Holden and Mr. Martin come up to the podium just for a few minutes. Always be ready, folks. Come up to the podium, please.
They absolutely have to be.
They always have to be ready. So these two have been selected to present at South by Southwest with SHP, and I'd like for them to talk a little bit about what this presentation looks like.
This presentation is really a joint venture about how our work with PBL and New Tech really kind of laid the groundwork for looking at facilities in a completely different light. And
often when you think about new buildings, typically new buildings are built and then educators kind of come together and say, what are we going to do in this building? I think the unique thing about our journey and our process is that we had already committed to project-based learning. That was already our initial interaction with education for kids. So it gave us a different lens and a different view and an opportunity to really expand what these new buildings could be for who we serve. So we were selected to represent our community and be part of the conversation as we really tell our story. South by Southwest is one of the larger educational convenings in the country. So we're really excited about being able to represent Winton Woods and tell our stories. And it's important that we don't allow other folks to tell our stories. So it gives us an opportunity to really talk about the great things our young people are doing and the great things that our adults are committed to doing for who we serve.
And that session is actually a sellout. I think it's scalpers, like with tickets and.
Well, actually, I just got word from one of our friends. He's bringing 24 people to that session.
Absolutely. It is a sellout.
Great, that's
So,
fantastic.
Very
The
popular.
final run-through is Wednesday, and the presentation looks great, and it really highlights the center of this district, and that's our children. So,
Fantastic.
and their voice in this whole process.
Way to go. Way to go. I know you guys are ready for that. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for bringing them up. It was good. We needed to hear that. It's always good to have good representation. The next item, Board, is that we do have a need for an executive session, so I will now entertain the motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of an employee.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Dr. Cupoletti?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggless?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Dr. Johnson?
Aye. Okay, thank you, Waycross Service, for videotaping tonight. When we come out of executive session, we won't do any further business or action. So with that said, we'll call this meeting of the Winton Woods City School Board of Education regular meeting Monday, February the 25th, 2019 adjourned. Thank you. Stay safe.